So there is an awesome background to this buggy that's sitting behind me. We were just doing the Italian job and we flew over to Italy. We delivered the buggy and we were posting about this Italian job buggy. And we're in Rome at the airport getting ready to fly out, and all of a sudden we get this message on Facebook from a guy named Glenn. And Glenn's wondering how much these buggies cost. Well, we get that type of thing all the time, so we just kind of throw out a number, and he says, you know what? I want one, and I want you to make it as badass as you can possibly make it, and I don't want it to break. And that's pretty much all we had to go for, because Glenn didn't really have a lot going on with this buggy throughout the build process. He didn't come down one time and check out the buggy or anything like that. So we had an awesome just blank canvas to do whatever we wanted to, and Glenn just trusted us to be able to make that project happen for him. And to be honest with you, we nailed it. God, that thing looks so sinister. I gotta get a picture of it from this side. It's like glowing. That is beautiful. Look at the colors, man. Like the light shining off of it. It looks like two different colors. It looks like this bright green and then black underneath. That thing looks awesome. First of all, we wanted to start off with a Riot Chassis. This is our race chassis, so we knew that it had the suspension that was going to give him comfort and be able to also race if you wanted to get into something like that. So this chassis can really do it all. Something a lot of people don't understand or don't realize when we're putting together a buggy like this is just how much labor goes into final assembly and tear down and everything. Like this buggy, you can see it's beautiful, man. This paint job is awesome. Axles and everything else came out perfect, but a lot of times if you get powder coat inside these little holes like this or inside these holes like this, you got to go through and ream every single one of them holes out. Something as small as powder coat on top of where the motor sits on these plates right here. Everything's hard mounted. A little bit of powder coat inside there. Motor sits just a hair too tall and doesn't seem like it would make a difference, but when you go to put these bolts in right up here, it makes a difference. So right now, we're cleaning up the axle housings, getting the bearings and seals and everything put back together, getting all the fluids and stuff put in them, getting the axles put back into place. Here before long, we'll have this thing sitting back on the suspension ready to go. But look at how this color is beautiful. Dark green. And as you get it into the light, it changes into a very bright color. It's beautiful. He didn't want it to break, so because of that, we wanted to make sure that we didn't have a package that could really break easily. So we decided to go with Dana 80s with 47 spline shafts. These are 2-inch inside diameter, 2 3/8 outside diameter. We run these shafts in 15 and 1600 horsepower buggies all the time, but we wanted to make sure that there would never be a problem, so we ended up putting a 1,000 horsepower motor in this thing, and that way we have a big comfort zone that we know he's not going to break. We've got 1480 dry shafts in this thing. We've got an SCS transfer case. We've got a Reed case TH400 with all of the bells and whistles. This buggy is literally everything that we have in our last two 15 and 1600 horsepower buggies, but with a motor that right now is a little bit less than 1,000 horsepower. So we're very comfortable with the package, and we know that no matter how hard he tries, he's not going to break it. What's up? So it is day 4 of the reassembly on this buggy that's behind me. Now this buggy has a whole lot of cool stuff on it, and it's going to take a little bit longer than normal, but the reason we do the things that we do are just because of quality. Every single bolt that we have that's in here is going to have a lock washer on it or have Loctite. Everything's going to be really tight. Look at that color. Doesn't that thing look beautiful? Got a whole lot of cool stuff. Today we're going to get the light bar installed that goes right here. We're going to get the air conditioning units that sit right up here on top with our stainless mesh. We've got all of our lights installed, all of our nice rigid pod lights all the way around. This thing is going to have lights all over it. Everywhere you look, there's another little pod. That way, this thing will light up the world. Check out that. Tell me that's not cool. So, hopefully today we'll have the suspension all lined out, have all of our shocks mounted and everything in the front, and we'll have the wheels and tires put back on it. We'll have the interior going all the way back together, our light bar, our air conditioning units, and some of the panels. So by the end of the day, it should look more like a vehicle, but check out that color. Man, that looks good. Glenn wanted a couple very special things that really set this buggy apart compared to some of the other ones that we've done. This buggy is going to be used on a ranch. The guy's from Louisiana, and it gets really hot down there, so 2 big requests. One, he wants to go and take this thing hunting, so he wanted to be able to have a winch that was in the front that he could pull a couple pins and put back in the back. Ugh. Put some of this WD-40 on here. WD-40 Specialist, dirt and dust resistant dry lube PTFE spray. Let's spray right down inside there. See if I can wiggle this thing around. Ooh, look at that. Huh, that stuff works really well. So we've got a winch system up here in the front with 2 big pins that pull out. You take the winch, go back to the back, there's already wires, you plug them up, put your 2 pins in, and you've got a wireless remote. So therefore, he could drag something out of the woods. If he was to kill something big, he would be able to drag it out of the woods. Number 2, we've got trailer receivers on front and rear, so he can pack a big cooler or put a deer on the front or something to be able to go into the woods and pick up whatever game he's killed, keep it cool, or whatever the situation may call for. Now the other thing is he wanted some fans for this thing to keep him cool on those hot summer days, whether he was down in Louisiana or hunting. So he wanted some fans to go inside the ceiling that would blow down on top of him and keep him cool. And we decided in perfect Busted Knuckle fashion, we were going to go over the top and make this thing as badass as possible. This is what the pods are going to look like. They've got stainless mesh, and it's actually going to be installed under here and blow air down on top of your head. So that's going to be super cool to get that done. Every time we get excited about starting one of these bouncers up, it's like, oh, it's about to start. Oh, we forgot this. Oh, it's about to start. Oh, we didn't put fuel in it. Oh, it's about to start. Well, we forgot to tune. Oh, and then it finally starts and nobody's around anymore.
That is so pretty. Can we just act like that guy doesn't exist and not give him the address?
I'm telling you, man, this
keep
is
this
beautiful buggy. The green is just unbelievable.
I didn't think it would turn out this good.
It's really, really clean. We've done this one before, so yeah, I'm gonna have to read some instructions. Home screen. Yeah, I've literally been on the phone for hours today with tech trying to figure out what's going on with this fuel injection system. And the motor was built about 3 years ago, and we just bought the fuel injection system about 2 weeks ago, maybe 3. And the crank sensor was the wrong type. It still fits in the hole, still looks the same, but it's a 24 tooth versus 58 tooth reluctor wheel, and it wouldn't start. So we're gonna swap the crank sensor and see if she fires.
First rock bouncer I've ever seen with electric cutouts. You saw it here first.
So on those hunting trips, he definitely wanted something that he could pull up, hit a button, and flood the area so that he could see whatever he has killed or drag it out of the woods, you know, the ranch stuff, so that you get out there in the middle of nowhere and you can really light up the world. So we've got lights all over this thing. It has a total of 10 rigid pod lights that go all the way around in a circle, and then a gigantic rigid light in the front that really floods out the front of this thing. So it's got a ton of lights to be able to do that with. Number two, it's got electric cutout. So you can flip this thing into electric cutout mode, and it's really quiet. So as you're just driving real slow, it's not that loud. But if he ever wants to get in there and impress some of his buddies, flip a switch, open headers, and this thing rocks. Well, we woke up this morning, tried to get this old girl ready to go to the dyno. Got everything situated, put fuel in her, fired her up, everything was going good. Go to shift it into gear, nothing. Shut it off, tried to move the tires, it's stuck in park. We ended up having to take and pull the transmission pan down, which meant that we had to cut the subframe, pull that out, get the transmission pan pulled down. We found out that there was a parking brake, little clip thing that goes inside and holds it in park, and it was stuck. The spring was in the wrong location. So we missed all of our dyno day today because we ended up having to pull the transmission back out of this thing, but we got it running and driving now, and it's a tank. Headed to the gynecologist. That's freaking cool.
So just when you think things can't go right on one of these builds, we get the transmission back together, and we get to do dyno day.
We have an amazing tuner who comes in the middle of the night and helps us. He can't be mad at us now.
Well, I think he's still mad.
That's questionable.
If you build too many water, you aren't going to be able to dyno them.
Well, it's dyno day, and
Dyno day number what?
this is number 3, but 1 and 2 were not our fault. First
They
dyno
never
day,
are.
it was, I swear, it was like some alien stuff, because we had this buggy running and driving, pulled it off the trailer, and it just died and wouldn't start back. And literally, we came back the next day, and it started right up. So we're not really too sure what happened, but it's fixed now. Dyno day number 2, once we got it started, we had some belt issues. We were running manual tensioners on the buggy for both the belt systems, and we had a bunch of problems, so we ended up going to automatic tensioners, and we have fixed the problem, so hopefully that's not an issue, and everything else seems to be running good. We've been running around at the shop and going like crazy, just tuning it and playing with it, and haven't had any problems. So if we have problems today, it's Lane's fault. So we had 2 other problems. One was a Chinese map sensor. I got it from just a parts store, regular parts store, and put it on. And while we were sitting here at a dead stop, it was showing like 6 PSI boost, which is obviously wrong. So we ended up taking an AC Delco sensor, a factory sensor, putting it on the engine, fixed that, no problem. Once we got that done, we were hitting the gas, and the computer was showing that we were running out of fuel, which was crazy because we had, injectors that should have pulled it, everything. So we pulled the injectors out, and sure enough, the injectors that were in the box that were supposed to be 90-pound injectors were actually 42-pound injectors. So wrong part in the right box. So just some unforeseen stuff, but today I think we're gonna kill it.
What you got going on up there?
I got my buddy who has a film company filming me with all the mistakes.
Well, if he quit making all the mistakes, I wouldn't have it on video.
You gotta put gas in it.
It ain't got no gas in it.
When you get all these horse pressures, it takes a lot more fuel than the big motors. That's a 418.4. Picked up 2 horsepower when we were early.
There you have it, folks. Our most successful dyno day yet. It happened to be the 3rd one, but we got it done. 4 hours later, tuned, ready to do a little photo shoot in the shop, and maybe go whoop on it a little bit, do some shock tuning, and then it's ready to unveil to the customer.
Let's wrap up this video with the specs of the buggy one more time. This thing is built to the kill. It's got Dana 80s front and rear with front and rear steering. We went with 4-inch half-inch wall tubing all the way throughout. It's got 47 spline 2-inch axle shafts on the inside with 2 3/8 outer stub shafts. We're running Reed Super Kingpin knuckles. We've got lightweight disc brake package on this thing, so it's got an awesome stopping ability. We've got Radflow shocks all the way around with bypasses, so you got 3-tube bypasses. It's got 25 inches of rear suspension travel, 16 inches of suspension travel up in the front. It's on trailing arms. It's got an LS engine in here. It's actually an Iron Block 6.0 that we've got LS3 heads and a blower on top of. It's all forged. It's got a chromoly crank. This thing is just built to the kill. We're running about 20-something PSI. I think it was actually 23 PSI on the dyno, and we're right on the ragged edge of blowing that motor up, so we dialed it back just a little bit. Right now, we're rated about 850 horsepower. We can easily be over 1,000, but we had to dial it way back. So supercharged engine, right around 1,000 horsepower. We've got a Reed TH400 case, completely built by FTI Transmissions. We've got a SCS transfer case in it. We've got our heavy duty drive shafts, actually our extreme duty drive shafts. It's all 1480 stuff. Basically this buggy's got all of the drivetrain that people are just wanting. I mean, this is the top-notch stuff in this thing. As far as the chassis goes, we went with a Riot race chassis. It's got a lot of up travel up here in the front. That's why you see this top suspension up here that's a little bit taller than what you'd see on a lot of trail rigs. It's got 10 inches of up travel in the front, and in the back it's got about 13 inches of up travel. So a lot of up travel, a lot of travel overall. The interior is custom built by us. It's all aluminum fabricated, really top-notch stuff. Electric rear steer right there on the joystick that's mounted to our Sidewinder shifter. It's a winter shifter. You guys have heard it both ways. Art Cars, another manufacturer of it. One of my favorite parts about this buggy are the fans that we installed up here in the roof. And what it does is it pulls cool air from up here on the top where you're not around the engine compartment up here in the front with these louvers and blows it on your head to keep you cool in those hot summer months. Lights all over it, lights in the front, big light bar back here, light bars back here, big light bar up here in the front. We got electric cutouts. You flip a switch, it goes from whisper quiet for just driving around to race mode. We've got a 23-gallon fuel cell so that he can get around on his property and not have to worry about running out of fuel or anything like that. We've also got a winch that unbolts from the front with a couple pins actually and comes back here to the back and keys in right here. Trailer hitches front and rear. I don't know what else we could put on this buggy, but it is definitely a work of art. So we know that you guys have been seeing the pictures of this buggy out there on the internet, and we didn't want to hold off on you for the video because of all the Corona stuff that's been going on. Our customer hasn't been able to come down here and actually pick it up. However, in the future, we're going to have some more video footage of this thing in action. That's pretty badass. I like this thing a lot.